Hi, this is Jesse at Papago Vans. Today I'm going to go over some troubleshooting with your Espar unit. We love these Espar heaters. We install them in most of our vans. Keeps you warm if you're somewhere extremely cold, but they are a little bit finicky and they can act up. So I want to go over the first things that you want to look for to hopefully be able to troubleshoot and fix it yourself if you are out there somewhere cold and it stops kicking. We typically install it under the passenger seat of Sprinters. Sometimes there's components inside here that don't allow us to do that, so then look for it underneath the bed. Or in a Transit or ProMaster, it's always going to be under the bed because we don't have this box set up. But this is the event where the heat comes out. You probably already know that by now, and you're wondering why the heat isn't coming out. So first I'm going to take you under the van and show you the very first things to look for. I'll actually grab that camera from you and go right underneath here. This is the part where I'm gonna have you laying on your back first. This is the exhaust pipe that you can first locate sticking out down here or possibly further down. Installation may vary a little bit from one van to the next, but this is the exhaust. So this pipe will get very hot. The first thing you wanna check is make sure that nothing came in contact with this hot exhaust pipe and possibly melted something. This is actually the fuel line. So this heater draws fuel from the diesel or gasoline tank of your van and goes up into the Espar unit, burns that fuel. The air intake is here and the hot exhaust is here. So this will be a cool pipe. This will be a really hot pipe when it's running. Sometimes maybe you hit some debris in the road or this zip tie has broken for some reason and this line might be in contact here and it may have melted it. It's pretty common. I see it a lot, but that's the first thing you want to check. Everything in here is totally intact. It's a little dirty. This is a used van, but this is exactly how it should look. This fuel line should be zip tied to the intake or something that keeps it away from the exhaust here. So that's the first inspection. Feel the line for any diesel fuel if there's any kind of a leak. Coming right off of the heater here, it's a little hard to see here, but it is just a rubber fuel line hose that this plastic tube goes into, and then there's a clamp that clamps it down. If you did hit something and maybe this got yanked, this either could be completely out of that rubber tube, or even it may not look like it's out, but it could be partially out and loose. So feel right here for any diesel that might be dripping down this line. That's the first indicator that fuel is not getting up to your air heater, and that could be why you're not getting any heat. So just a quick visual inspection down here. We typically have this protective sheathing on all this line, but I did remove it right here so you could see that. So you may need to remove that so you can actually inspect the fuel line. This is a power line that goes up to the heater up there as well. If you are having a no fuel issue and you don't feel any fuel here, you can also follow this line. It goes up over the heat shield and to the pump. That's the actual heater pump. I'm sorry if I've got this all upside down on you now, but just follow the line and feel all of those connections and see if there's any leaks and you feel any diesel fuel. If everything looks right under here, really, if you see any errors on here, it'll usually first say H1. H1 just means heater 1. It's probably the only heater you have. These can control multiple units, like if you had a big RV, so it'd be like H1, H2. So H1 is not the error code. That just means heater 1. You want to see what it says after that. So a common one is H1 no fuel. And that would be exactly what I was just showing you underneath, where there's just not fuel getting up into it. So you want to inspect those lines and make sure there's fuel. Sometimes it'll throw that code and there's actually not a problem at all. If you haven't run the unit in a long time, the diesel fuel will have drained back down the line. And so when it first starts up, it's just pushing air up into the unit and it thinks that there's no fuel when really it's just probably an air bubble. So if you're getting H1 no fuel, just click the center button and restart the unit again. Do it a couple times. I've done it up to 5 times before for it to pass all that air and then it started blowing hot. But otherwise, here's how you're going to reset this whole unit. You've got your toggle right here. And you've got your center button. That's really all we're going to be using first. So enter those heat waves. Nope, excuse me, I'm sorry. For resetting, you're going to enter the settings right there, the gear wheel. And then hovering over the clock, you're going to hold down this back button until it enters the workshop. Now, the first thing we're going to do is scroll over to air memory. We're going to clear them. H1 is the is the heater, right? Like we had said. And then there's the control unit, which is this guy right here. So we're going to start with H1, and we can actually read or clear. You don't need to read it. Just go over to clear or delete. Now you're deleting, it says deleted, any stored errors that would be in the heater unit itself. Next, scroll over to control unit. Just go right over to delete. Deleted. Now you've deleted any stored codes that would be in here. We're going to back out here to the workshop, and you're going to scroll all the way to factory reset. And we're going to do a full factory reset. It asks you, say yes. Give it a second. Language, English. You do the 12 or the 24-hour clock. I'll just go ahead and set the clock. It is currently 9:07 a.m. It is, what is the day? Wednesday. If you like Fahrenheit. And now this part is important. Control sensor, control unit. That's right here. Now, indicator sensor, you want to switch that over to control unit as well. That means that it's measuring the temperatures here at the control unit, which is actually a little thermostat right inside of there. Temperature offset, just leave that at 0. Start departure time, you don't need to set anything there, just click through it. Maintenance interval, leave that off as well. You can turn that on, and all that is, it's like a dummy timer. It's really just saying every, say, 2,000 hours, it's going to tell you need to maintenance it. It doesn't intelligently know that you need to maintenance it. It's just telling you to do that. It's basically a timer. So some people do like to set that to remind them, hey, check things out, maybe change a filter or whatnot. Otherwise, I just turn those off. Now we've completely reset the whole unit. Any error codes that were stored in there are reset. If you're having any kind of codes that say like it's not paired to a unit or it's lost communication with the unit, that factory reset is going to put everything back to how it should be. Now I'll just go through the quick operations of this as well, kind of as a refresher. It's currently 72 degrees in here, monitored right here. The unit is off. So you enter those heat waves. If you're not on the heat waves, you scroll here until you are. Enter the heat waves, choose a temperature. If we choose something lower than what the temperature is in here, then it won't actually kick on. So we have to go high, right? Choose something you'd actually want. If you choose like 90 degrees, you'll come back in a couple hours and it will be 90 in here. So I'm going to choose 72 degrees. Don't choose the time. That would say blow 72 degree air for 30 minutes and then completely shut off, and that's all it's going to do. You're going to scroll back to infinity. And what it's saying is just maintain the temperature I have forever until I tell you to stop. So 72 degrees, I chose infinity. You see that red ring come on? That means the unit is on. Now it's going to click on and off as it needs to maintain 72. Now my error there, I set it to 72 and it's already 72 in here, so it's not going to do anything right now. But once it dips below 72, it'll kick on. It'll just keep it at 72. You can leave this like that all winter long. To turn it off, you just go right back into the heat waves and click off. The red ring goes away. That's how you know it's no longer on, or it's not going to kick on when it starts getting cold. But this is an absolute lifeline when you're somewhere cold. It's going to be what keeps everything from freezing inside of the van, all your water lines, your fresh water tanks. So you do want to keep that on. Again, if you're having any issues with it, first confirm that there isn't a problem underneath. There's no fuel leaking anywhere. Those rubber hoses I showed you, you can loosen those with a Phillips head screwdriver, push the fuel line back up into the hose and retighten them if there are any leaks or any issues, and then come in here and do a complete reset. That's about the extent of what you want to do in the field, aside from pulling off the passenger seat, replacing any filters inside the unit itself. But that should get you back on the road if you're having any minor issues.